Most people in America who identify as Black or African American were told that they descend from African slaves brought here in 1619. You were told this misinformation in school. Why? Get them while they're young. School and church is where the indoctrination begins. Think about it. What did your grandmother or grandfather say about their parents or their grandparents? While they might have been enslaved, none of them were slaves from Africa. They always said at least one of them was some kind of an Indian or Native American. I wanted to know where I came from because my family on all sides looked pretty different. So I decided to do some exploring. First, I built my family tree using documents from the census, war and death, and birth certificates. I even found a ton of wills. What I began to see in the records was that through these documents, my family and many others were reclassified as Black, Negro, and colored. Our surname was even altered to hide our Portuguese ancestry. It seemed as if someone intentionally covered up our roots, reducing us to nationless entities. Paper genocide and identity theft are very real. My family members who lived east of the Mississippi River were relocated to Indian Territory in Oklahoma via the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Does this sound familiar? Because if it does, it's because these people who were falsely identified as Black are the indigenous people of America, and the event was called the Trail of Tears. Once they were in this territory, the Indian rolls, which can be viewed by anyone on archives.gov, began to document members of tribes and their slaves. They would decline Aborigines while accepting immigrants from other countries into the tribes. Some even paid a small fee of only $5, coining the term $5 Indian. Some tribal people didn't even bother to enroll, which made it difficult for later generations to claim tribal status. Fast forward to 2021. Today, we've been told that through testing our DNA through saliva, DNA genealogy companies can tell us exactly where on the planet we descend from. Here's where it gets interesting. Each company tells you that using their system of data collected through statistics and people living today, and results received are accurate without a shadow of doubt. So I did an experiment. I took one for the team, you guys. I sent in my DNA to not one, but 2 different DNA companies, and guess what, tribe? My results from each company are completely different. You see where this is going? In order to continue the raping and pillaging of the indigenous people, they have created these tests to further displace you from your homeland. To all my people, I say to you, follow the records. Listen to what the elders and your family have told you, not the very people who have enslaved you.
And I say, yeah, you are, but this small segment of your DNA doesn't go back to Africa, but to Europe. We are a mosaic of many different ancestors. We can go back several generations, and there are hundreds of people thousands of people who actually contributed to our DNA.
And that's the rub. This business of genetic genealogy is fraught with limitations. For one thing, it can only provide information about a tiny fraction of our ancestry. Because we get half our DNA from our mothers and half from our fathers, almost all of our DNA gets shuffled and remixed every generation, making it impossible to trace what comes from whom. There are just 2 bits of DNA that remain pure: the Y chromosome, which passes directly from father to son, and something called mitochondrial DNA, which passes unchanged from mother to child. Hank Greeley, a law professor at Stanford University, has studied this new field. He worries that people don't realize just how many ancestors they actually have.
8 generations ago, both you and I had 256 great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents.
Wait, you're saying that if you go back 8 generations, we have 256 great-great-great-grandparents?
Yes, it doubles every generation. So you've got 2 parents, you have 4 grandparents, you have 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, and it adds up fast. It adds up so fast, in fact, that if you go back 20 generations, you've got over 1 million grandparents.
1,048,576 to be exact. And in each generation, DNA testing can provide information about only 2 of them.